Grandpa is punishing my dad. I have the power to stop it, but don't know if I actually want to. I'm using a throwaway because if any of my friends or family see this, I don't want them to know my main account since I have some very private things on there. I, F21, lost my mom when I was 14. Dad remarried when I was 17. My stepmom has a daughter, F15, she and dad had a boy, M3, and now she just gave birth to a little girl. Anyway, I have worked since I was 16, to have so money to buy stuff for me. When I turned 18, dad said I was now an adult and should start paying rent. It was only $500. A symbolic amount since he would still cover food and other essentials. I was mad and we fought, but in the end I accepted and that was the arrangement until 7 months ago. Dad came to me saying I had 2 months to move out, stepmom was pregnant and they would need my room for the baby. Which is insane because they both have private offices. My stepmom doesn't even need one since she's a som since the birth of my baby brother. Nonetheless they told me I had to move. By the way, just an addendum, me and stepmom get well fine. We don't fight or bicker. I don't think this was an evil stepmom moment, but who knows? Me and stepsister are actually pretty close, I help her with homework and talk about her personal problems, I do love her very much. Back to the story, I didn't know what to do. I'm going to a college, I want to be a civil engineer, and work part-time. I don't have the means to live by myself. I called my aunt, asking if I could move in with her for the time being, until I figured something out, offered to pay rent and all. She was aghast at what dad was doing, she said I absolutely could live with her, no rent needed, but also said she was gonna deal with my dad. The next day Grandpa came to our house, and they talked privately, I could hear my dad's angry voice, but couldn't understand anything being said. After a while Grandpa came to my room and said I had 3 choices. The first was continue living with dad and stepmom like I was doing, nothing would change except without paying rent. The second was moving in with him and grandma, or my aunt. Third was find a place of my own and he would pay the rent and costs for me. He said I didn't need to choose now, I could keep living with dad and if I changed my mind to just tell him. I was actually relieved I could still live with dad, and that this madness was over. But the following days and weeks, dad and stepmom were very hostile towards me, and I felt incredibly uncomfortable being in my own home. Even Cassie picked this up and asked me why they were angry at me. So I decided to move out and told Grandpa. He said he would take care of everything. Few weeks later he moved me into one of his rental units. The apartment is lovely, he bought me a fridge, stove, and other essential items. He gave me a check for $15,000 saying this money is to help me start living on my own. And that as long as I am working or studying, I can live there rent-free, for as long as I want. My dad and I have been pretty low contact since I moved out. He never came to visit me, or I visit them. I miss them a lot, especially my stepsister, but I'm still hurt. 2 weeks ago, my stepmom gave birth, I visited them in the hospital. It was a little awkward, but nice seeing them and my baby sister. Anyway, few days ago dad calls me, saying he misses me, the children misses me, and I should move back home. He apologized for asking me to move out, etc., etc., etc. And I told him I would think about it. Yesterday I visited my aunt, and was telling her what my dad said, and my cousin laughed a little and said I'm sure he does. I asked what he meant, and that's when they told me a lot of, until now, unknown information. Basically, my dad's home is actually my grandpa's. As is my aunt's. Basically the deal he made with me, he did with all his kids and some grandkids as well. He never wanted any of his family to have to worry about basic stuff like house and food, etc. When I called my aunt that time, she called Grandpa, which was furious with dad, not only for kicking me out, but also for charging me rent. That day he went to my dad's and tore him a new one, and threatened to have him evicted. But now the petty part, you know that $15,000 Grandpa gave me? It's actually what I paid dad in rent all that time. And now he's making dad pay him back. Also, he's charging dad $1,200 for the rent loss in apartment I'm living in. Call me dumb or naive, but until now, I never realized my dad didn't make that much money. We lived in a great house, always went on vacations, and lived very comfortable lives, but I guess Grandpa has always been helping behind the scenes. Now my cousin thinks dad is struggling, with 3 kids at home, a single income, and having to pay it back to Grandpa. So he says dad wants me back, because he imagines Grandpa will stop punishing him if I'm back living with them. Honestly, I don't know what to do. I'm actually loving living on my own these past 6 months. But I do really miss them, I miss my siblings. I miss the life we had before all of this, but I don't know if moving back home is the right answer, and also, I'm hurt the reason he wants me back is money. Honestly, I just wanted to vent.